I'm 72 years old, and I live in a house that's too big for one person. Every morning, I wake up to silence. Every night, I go to sleep the same way. And somewhere between those two moments, I've learned something that I wish, God, how I wish I had understood 50 years ago. Being alone when you're young feels like freedom. Being alone when you're old feels like punishment. My name is Michael. And this is the story of how I built a perfect life and lost everything that mattered. I need to tell you something before I go any further. I'm not dying. I'm not sick. My body still works, more or less. I can walk, I can think, I can take care of myself. But there's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being unable to do things. It comes from having no one to do them with, no one to do them for. I have money in the bank. I have a house that's paid off. I have a car that runs well. I have everything I told myself I needed when I was 30 years old. And I would give it all away, every single dollar, every possession, for one Sunday morning where someone I love is sitting across from me at the breakfast table. But that's not my reality, and it never will be again. Let me take you back. Let me show you how this happened. When I was 25, I had a girlfriend named Catherine. She wasn't the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, but she had this way of looking at me that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. We'd been together for 3 years. We talked about marriage. We talked about children. We talked about growing old together. I remember one night we were lying in bed and she turned to me and said, "Michael, do you ever think about what we'll be like when we're 70? Do you think we'll still hold hands?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because 70 seemed so impossibly far away. Like talking about life on Mars. I said something like, "Sure, baby. We'll be those cute old people in the park." But I didn't really think about it. Not seriously. Because at 25, I was thinking about my career. I had just gotten a promotion at the accounting firm where I worked. I was making decent money for the first time in my life. I was hungry. I wanted more. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to climb. Catherine worked as a teacher. She made less than half what I made. She'd come home tired with stories about her students, and I'd half listen while reading reports or planning for the next day. She never complained. She'd just make dinner and we'd eat, and she'd ask about my day, and I'd talk about office politics and numbers and deals. I thought I was building our future. I thought I was being responsible. I was 27 when she started talking about slowing down, about maybe buying a small house, about starting a family. She was 30 then. She said her clock was ticking. Those were her words. "My clock is ticking, Michael." And I said, "Just give me 2 more years. Let me make senior associate. Then we'll have real security. Then we'll be ready." She agreed, because she loved me, because she trusted me. 2 years later, I made senior associate, and I said, "Just 2 more years. Let me make partner. Then we'll really be set." She was 32 by then. I saw something change in her eyes when I said it, but I told myself she understood. I told myself she could see the bigger picture. Looking back now, I can see what I couldn't see then. She wasn't asking for riches. She wasn't asking for a mansion. She was asking for me, for my time, for my attention, for the life we'd promised each other. But I was chasing something else, something I thought was more important. I made partner when I was 33. Catherine was 35. We'd been together for 11 years. I remember the night I got the news. I came home with champagne. I was so proud. I'd done it. I'd climbed the mountain. We were going to celebrate. But when I walked in, Catherine was sitting at the kitchen table with her hands folded. She wasn't smiling. She said, "I can't do this anymore, Michael." I didn't understand. I put the champagne down. I said, "What do you mean?" "This is what we've been working toward. Now we can finally." She cut me off. "No. This is what you've been working toward. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for 11 years for you to be ready. For you to have enough. For you to have time. And I just realized you're never going to be ready. There's always going to be one more promotion. One more goal. One more reason to wait." I tried to argue. I tried to convince her. I said all the things I thought would make sense. We have money now. We can afford anything. We can have a great life. And she looked at me with tears running down her face and said, "I don't want things, Michael. I want a family. I want children. I want a husband who comes home and actually sees me. And I'm running out of time." We fought that night. I said things I regret. I accused her of not understanding the sacrifices I'd made, of not appreciating what I'd built for us. She left 3 weeks later. She moved back to her hometown. 6 months after that, I heard through mutual friends that she was seeing someone else. A high school teacher, a guy who coached Little League on weekends. I told myself she'd made a mistake. I told myself she'd thrown away our future for some fantasy. I told myself I was better off. I was 33 years old, and I believed I had all the time in the world to find someone else. Someone who would understand my ambition. Someone who would fit into my life. That was 40 years ago. I dated after Catherine. Of course I did. I was successful, financially secure, not bad looking. I met women at firm events, through friends, at conferences. I had relationships that lasted months, sometimes a year or two. But there was always a pattern. I'd meet someone. We'd have fun. Things would get serious. And then they'd start talking about the future. About compromise. About me working less. About spending weekends together instead of at the office. About building something together. And I'd feel trapped. Pressured. Like they were trying to change me. So I'd end it. Or they would. And I'd tell myself it wasn't meant to be. I'd tell myself I was just being honest about what I wanted. I was married to my work, and there was nothing wrong with that. When I was 40, I stopped dating seriously altogether. I convinced myself I was happier alone. I had my career. I had my colleagues. I had clients who respected me. I had a beautiful apartment in the city. I traveled for work. I ate at nice restaurants. I had freedom. I remember my mother asking me around that time if I ever wanted a family. I was visiting her for Christmas. My father had died the year before, and she was living alone in the house where I grew up. She said, "Michael, I worry about you. You work so much. Don't you want someone to share your life with?" I kissed her on the forehead and said, "Mom, I'm happy. I promise. I have everything I need." She looked at me with this sad smile. She didn't argue, but I could see she didn't believe me. My mother died when I was 51. Stroke, quick and unexpected. I flew home for the funeral. I stood in the church and looked around at all the people who'd come to say goodbye. Her friends from Bridge Club, neighbors, people from her volunteer work at the library. Her life had been full of people, full of connection. After the service, I went back to her house to sort through her things. And I found a journal she'd kept. I know I shouldn't have read it, but I did. There were entries about me, about how proud she was of my success, about how worried she was that I was alone, about how she prayed I'd find someone before it was too late. One entry, from about a year before she died, said, "I see Michael at holidays, and he seems fine, but I know my son. He's lonely. He's built walls so high he doesn't even know they're there anymore. I wish I could make him see that all the success in the world doesn't keep you warm at night. I hope he figures it out before he's my age, before everyone is gone." I sat on her bedroom floor and cried for the first time since I was a child. But even then, I didn't change. I went back to my life, back to work, back to my routine. Because changing seemed impossible, because I didn't know how, because I'd invested so much in being this version of myself that becoming someone else felt like admitting I'd wasted decades. I retired at 65. The firm threw me a party, big event, open bar, speeches about my contributions, a gold watch, the whole thing. People clapped. People shook my hand. People said I'd earned my rest. I went home that night to my empty apartment and realized I had no idea what to do with myself. For 40 years, my identity had been my work. I was Michael Harris, senior partner. I was the guy who closed the big deals, who mentored the young associates, who worked weekends and holidays and never complained. Now I was just Michael, a 65-year-old man with no job, no wife, no children, no grandchildren. I tried to stay busy. I joined a gym. I took up golf. I traveled, real travel this time, not work trips. I saw Europe. I saw Asia. I took cruises. And everywhere I went, I saw couples, older couples holding hands, laughing together, taking photos of each other, sharing meals, sharing memories, sharing life. I saw families, grandparents with their grandchildren, teaching them things, playing with them, being needed, being loved. And I was alone, always alone. I'd sit in beautiful restaurants in Paris or Rome, at a table for one, and I'd think, what's the point? Who am I going to tell about this? Who cares that I'm here? I took 1,000 photos on those trips, and when I got home, I'd look through them on my computer. Just pictures of buildings and landscapes. No people, no one to be in the frame with me. I have boxes of photos from my entire life. You know how many have me with another person? Maybe a couple dozen. Work events. My parents' anniversary party. Catherine, from back when we were young. That's it. That's the visual record of my 72 years. A man standing alone in front of things. I'm going to tell you what a typical day looks like for me now, because I think it's important for you to understand the reality of this life I've built. I wake up around 7. No alarm. My body just wakes up at the same time every day. Habit from all those years of early meetings. I make coffee. I sit at my kitchen table and drink it while looking out the window. I watch my neighbors leave for work. I watch the young couple across the street load their baby into the car seat. I watch the old man 3 doors down get his newspaper from the driveway. Then I make breakfast. Just for me. I eat it. I wash the dishes. Then I have the whole day ahead of me, empty. Some days I go to the gym. I work out next to people 30 years younger. We don't talk. Everyone has headphones in. Some days I play golf. I've joined a club. Sometimes I get paired with other single players. We make small talk about our shots. We shake hands at the end. We never exchange numbers. Some days I go to the library. I read. I see the same people there. Other retirees. We nod at each other. We don't speak. I have lunch. Usually something simple. Sandwich. Soup. Afternoons are harder. The hours stretch. I watch television. I read. I do crossword puzzles. I check my email. There's rarely anything important. Spam, mostly. Newsletters from stores I bought something from once. Sometimes I call my financial advisor. Not because I need anything, but because it's nice to talk to someone. He's always polite, professional. He probably thinks I'm a lonely old man. He's right. I have dinner. I cook decent meals, even just for myself. I tell myself it's important to maintain standards. I eat alone at my dining room table. The table seats 8. I sit in the same chair every night. The other 7 chairs have never been used. Not once. Not in the 12 years I've lived in this house. After dinner, I watch more television. I go to bed around 10. And then I do it all again the next day. Weekends are worse. Because at least on weekdays, I can pretend I'm just retired. On weekends, I see families everywhere. Barbecues in backyards. Kids playing in the street. People washing cars together. Laughing. I haven't had a real conversation, not a real one, where someone asks how I am and actually wants to know the answer. In, I don't know, months maybe. The longest conversation I had last week was with the checkout woman at the grocery store. She asked if I found everything okay. I said yes. She told me to have a nice day. I said you too. 12 words. That was the highlight of my human interaction for the week. Here's something I didn't understand when I was young. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's physical. It hurts. There are days when my chest feels tight. When I can feel the emptiness like a weight. When I'd give anything, just to have someone ask me what I want for dinner. To have someone need me to pick something up from the store. To have someone say, "Good morning," who actually cares if I answer. I've started talking to myself. Just little things. Okay, Michael, time for lunch. Let's see what's on TV. It makes the silence less heavy. I've thought about getting a dog, but I'm 72. What happens to the dog when I die? Who would take it? I don't have anyone to ask. I've thought about volunteering, but when I look at the forms, there's always a question: emergency contact. And I sit there with the pen in my hand, and I realize I don't have one. I don't have a single person to write down. I have a lawyer who handles my estate. He's the closest thing I have to an emergency contact, a man I pay by the hour. Sometimes I imagine having a heart attack, falling in my house. And I wonder how long it would take for someone to find me. Days? Weeks? Would it be the smell that finally alerted the neighbors? Who would plan my funeral? The lawyer, I suppose. Who would come? Maybe some old colleagues, out of obligation. The guy who does my taxes, my barber. There would be no one crying, no one devastated, no one whose life would have a hole in it. I would just stop, and the world would keep turning like nothing happened. That's what I think about some nights when I can't sleep. About 6 months ago, I did something I swore I'd never do. I looked up Catherine online. It took me a while to find her. She'd gotten married, changed her name. But I found her eventually. She's 70 years old now. She married that teacher, the one she started dating after we broke up. They have 3 children, grown now, and 7 grandchildren. Her Facebook page is full of photos, family dinners, birthday parties, graduations, vacations with her husband, pictures of her holding babies, pictures of her surrounded by people who love her. In every photo, she's smiling, really smiling, the way I remember from when we were young. She looks happy. She looks like she has a beautiful life. And I sat there, in my empty house, looking at the life she built without me. And I finally understood what I'd given up. I didn't give up one person. I gave up an entire universe. Children, grandchildren, holidays, traditions, legacy, connection, love. All those years, I thought I was choosing success over Catherine. But really, I was choosing success over life itself. I was choosing meetings over memories, promotions over people, money over meaning. And now I have the success. I have the money. I have everything I sacrificed for. And it means nothing, less than nothing. Because you can't have dinner with money. You can't talk to a promotion. You can't hug success. I thought I was being smart, practical, ambitious. I was being a fool. There's a photo I keep on my desk. It's old, faded. It's me and Catherine from maybe 45 years ago. We're at the beach. Her head is on my shoulder. We're both laughing at something. I don't remember what. I look at that photo sometimes and I barely recognize the man in it. He looks happy, carefree, young. He has his whole life ahead of him. If I could go back and talk to him, to that young version of me, I don't even know where I'd start. I'd tell him that Catherine is the best thing that will ever happen to him, that she sees him, that she loves him, that she wants to build a life with him, and he should say yes, right now. Today, I'd tell him that making partner doesn't matter, that money doesn't matter, that the only thing that matters is the people you love and who love you back. I'd tell him that time is the only thing you can't get back, that every minute he spends at the office is a minute he's stealing from his future, from the family he could have, from the life he could live. I'd tell him that he's going to wake up one day as an old man, and he's going to look around at everything he built, and he's going to realize it's all worthless, because he'll have no one to share it with. I'd tell him that being alone when you're young feels like freedom, but being alone when you're old feels like dying a little bit every single day. I'd tell him to go home right now, to leave the office and go home to the woman who loves him, to hold her, to tell her she's right, to tell her they should start a family, to tell her that she's more important than anything else in the world. But I can't tell him, because he's gone. He made his choices, and I'm living with the consequences. I want to be very clear about something. I'm not telling you this story because I want pity. I don't. I made my choices. I lived my life. I thought I knew what I was doing. I'm telling you this because I look around at the world now and I see so many young people making the same mistakes I made, maybe for different reasons, but the result will be the same. I see people in their 20s and 30s working 70-hour weeks, grinding, hustling, building their careers, building their brands, building everything except relationships. I see people prioritizing their jobs over their partners, over their families, over their own well-being. I see people postponing life, postponing love, postponing children, postponing connection, always waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right amount of money in the bank. And I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them and screams, "There is no right time! The right time is now! This moment, today!" Because here's what I learned too late: life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Your parents get older every single day. Your friends move away. Your partner's patience runs out. Your fertility window closes. Your health declines. People die. And one day you wake up and you're 72 years old and everyone is gone and all you have are your accomplishments and your bank account and your empty house. I thought I had time. That's the lie I told myself for 40 years. I have time. I'll do it later. After this promotion. After this project. After I reach this goal. But time doesn't work that way. Time takes and takes and takes, and it doesn't give anything back. I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but I need to work. I need to build my career. I need financial security. And you're right, you do. But there's a difference between working to live and living to work. There's a difference between building a career and sacrificing everything for it. I'm not telling you to quit your job. I'm not telling you to stop being ambitious. I'm telling you that there has to be balance. There has to be space for the people you love, for the life you want outside of work. Because I promise you, when you're old, you're not going to wish you'd worked more. You're not going to wish you'd made more money. You're not going to wish you'd gotten one more promotion. You're going to wish you'd spent more time with the people who mattered. You're going to wish you'd said yes to dinner instead of staying late at the office. You're going to wish you'd taken the vacation, made the phone call, shown up. You're going to wish you'd built a life, not just a career. There's a man I see sometimes at the coffee shop near my house. He's around my age, maybe a little older. He comes in every morning with his wife. They've clearly been doing this for years. They have their regular table, their regular orders. And I watch them. I can't help it. They don't talk much. After 50 years of marriage, maybe you don't need to. But there's this ease between them, this comfort. She touches his hand while they're reading the newspaper. He refills her coffee without her asking. They share a muffin. It's such a small thing, such an ordinary thing. But to me, it looks like heaven. That could have been me and Catherine if I'd made different choices, if I'd seen what mattered, if I'd understood that love and partnership and building a life with someone isn't a distraction from success. It is success, the only success that matters in the end. But I was too stupid to see it, too arrogant, too convinced that I knew better. And now I'm the old man sitting alone at a table, watching other people live the life I threw away. I've been thinking a lot about legacy lately, about what I'm leaving behind when I die. I have money. I have investments. I have property. My will divides it all up between charities, organizations I've never volunteered for, causes I support from a distance. It's better than nothing, I suppose. But it's not legacy. Not really. Legacy is children who remember you, grandchildren who carry your stories, a partner who thinks about you and smiles, friends who miss you, a life that mattered to specific people in specific ways. I don't have that. I'll have a death notice in the paper, an obituary that lists my professional achievements. Michael Harris, 72, retired partner at Harris and Associates. No survivors, no survivors. That's what it will say, and that's the truth. I have no survivors, because I never built anything that could survive me. Catherine's legacy will be her children, her grandchildren, the family she built, the love she gave, the life she lived with people who loved her back. My legacy will be money that goes to strangers, a gravestone no one visits, an empty house that gets sold off. That's what I built with all my ambition, with all my sacrifice, with all my hard work. Nothing that lasts, nothing that matters. Sometimes I let myself imagine a different life, a parallel universe where I made different choices. In that life, I told Catherine yes when she asked about starting a family. I cut back my hours. I made partner a few years later, or maybe I never made partner at all. Maybe I stayed at a lower position, made less money. But I came home for dinner every night. I coached Little League. I went to dance recitals. I took family vacations where we made memories instead of money. In that life, I'm still 72, but I'm not alone. I'm having dinner with my kids, playing with my grandkids, sitting on the couch with Catherine, watching TV, her feet in my lap. In that life, I'm not wealthy. We live in a modest house. We drive older cars. We don't take expensive vacations. But we're rich in all the ways that matter. And I would trade places with that version of me in a heartbeat. Without hesitation. Without regret. I would give every dollar I have. Every possession. Everything. Just to not be alone. You know what the worst part is? It's not the loneliness itself. It's knowing that I did this to myself. Nobody forced me to work those hours. Nobody held a gun to my head and made me choose career over family. Nobody made me let Catherine walk away. I did this. Every choice was mine. Every priority was mine. Every sacrifice was mine. I can't blame my boss. I can't blame society. I can't blame bad luck. I built this prison. And now I'm serving a life sentence in it. That's what makes the regret so heavy. It's not just sadness. It's guilt. It's shame. It's the knowledge that I had chances. So many chances to choose differently, and I didn't. Catherine gave me chances. My mother gave me chances. Friends who invited me to things I always said no to. Women I dated who wanted more than I was willing to give. The universe kept offering me exits, off ramps from the path I was on, and I refused them all because I thought I knew better. I thought I was building something important. I was building a cage. If you're young and you're reading this, if you're in your 20s or 30s or even your 40s, please listen to me. You still have time. You still have chances. You can still choose differently. If you have someone you love, don't take them for granted. Don't assume they'll wait forever while you figure your life out. Don't assume there will always be tomorrow. Show up. Be present. Make time. Make them a priority. If they're asking for more of you, more time, more attention, more commitment, that's not them being needy. That's them loving you. That's them wanting to build a life with you. Say yes while you still can. If you're postponing having children because you want to be more financially stable or more established in your career or more ready, understand that you will never feel completely ready. Nobody does. But if you want children, don't wait too long. Don't let your window close while you're chasing some imaginary perfect moment. If your parents are still alive, call them, visit them, spend time with them. They won't be here forever. And when they're gone, you'll wish you'd had one more conversation, one more dinner, one more hug. If you have friends you've lost touch with because you're too busy, reach out. Make the effort. Friendships don't maintain themselves. They require time and attention and care. If you're working 60 or 70 hours a week, ask yourself why. Really ask yourself, is it necessary? Is it temporary? Or is it just become your normal, your identity? Because it's so easy to let work consume everything. To tell yourself you're building something. To tell yourself it's just for now. And then you blink and 40 years have passed and you're me. I want to tell you about something that happened last month. It's small, but it's stuck with me. I was at the grocery store. It was early evening. I was in the frozen food aisle, looking at TV dinners, when I heard a child crying. I looked over, and there was a little girl maybe 3 or 4 years old. She'd dropped her stuffed animal, and it had fallen behind one of the freezers where she couldn't reach it. Her father was with her. Young guy, maybe early 30s. He was still in his work clothes. He looked tired, probably had a long day. But he didn't hesitate. He got down on his hands and knees on that dirty grocery store floor. He reached behind the freezer. He got the stuffed animal. And when he handed it to his daughter, her whole face lit up. She hugged him. She said, "Thank you, Daddy," like he'd just saved the world. And he hugged her back and kissed the top of her head and said, "Anything for you, sweetheart." It was such a small moment, such an ordinary moment. It probably took 30 seconds. But I stood there in that frozen food aisle with tears in my eyes, because that man had something I will never have. Someone who needs him. Someone who loves him unconditionally. Someone who thinks he's a hero for retrieving a stuffed animal. That's wealth. That's success. That's what matters. Not the size of your house or your bank account or your job title. But moments like that, connection like that, love like that. And I threw it all away for what? For money I can't spend in any meaningful way. For a career that's over. For an empty house and an empty life. I stood there until they walked away. The father holding his daughter's hand, probably heading home to have dinner with his family, to give his daughter a bath, to read her a bedtime story, to do all the ordinary, beautiful things I'll never do. And I wanted to run after him, to grab him, to tell him, "You had everything. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever take it for granted. Don't ever choose anything over this." But I didn't. I just stood there. And then I got my frozen dinner and went home to my empty house. There's something else I need to say. Something I've been avoiding because it's hard to admit. I'm scared. I'm scared of getting sick, of needing help, of ending up in a nursing home where the staff are kind but tired, and I'm just another old person taking up a bed. I'm scared of having a stroke like my mother, of losing the ability to take care of myself, of having no one to advocate for me, no one to visit me, no one to hold my hand. I'm scared of dying alone, of my last moments being in some hospital room with only machines beeping, of having no one there to say goodbye to, no one to tell me it's okay to let go. These fears keep me up at night. And the worst part is, they're probably going to come true, because that's the reality I've created. That's the future I built with all my choices. When people talk about end of life care, they talk about advanced directives and DNRs and healthcare proxies. And I have all those documents, all filled out by my lawyer, but nobody talks about the emotional reality, the human reality, the reality of facing the end with no one who loves you by your side. That's what's waiting for me. That's what I have to look forward to. And it's terrifying. I've been writing this for hours now. It's late. The house is dark except for the lamp by my chair. This is usually when the loneliness is worst. Late at night. When the world is quiet and there's nothing to distract me from the reality of my life. Sometimes I turn on the TV just to hear voices, just to feel like there are people around, even if they're not real, even if they're just actors in some show I don't care about. Pathetic, right? A grown man, successful, educated, reduced to keeping the TV on for company. But that's where I am. That's what I've become. And I did it to myself. I want to end this by telling you something important. The most important thing I've learned. Life is not about what you accomplish. It's not about what you achieve or acquire or build. Life is about who you love and who loves you back. That's it. That's the whole thing. Everything else, the career, the money, the success, the possessions, it's all just set dressing. It's all just props. It means nothing without people to share it with. I learned this too late, but you don't have to. You can make different choices. You can choose people over productivity, love over ambition, connection over career. You can build a life that will sustain you when you're old. A life full of people who care about you, who need you, who want to be around you. You can create memories instead of just money, relationships instead of just summes, legacy instead of just inheritance. But you have to choose it, actively, deliberately, every single day, because the world will always tell you to work more, to achieve more, to sacrifice more. The world will always make you feel like there's something more important than the people you love. There isn't. There is nothing more important. Nothing. And if you remember anything from this story, from my life, from my mistakes, from my regrets, please remember that. Choose people, choose love, choose life, before it's too late. I'm 72 years old. I have maybe 10 or 15 years left, if I'm lucky, maybe less. And I would give anything, to go back and do it differently. But I can't. My time for different choices is over. My time for building a family is over. My time for creating the life I should have lived is over. But your time isn't over. Not yet. You still have chances. You still have opportunities. You still have people who love you or could love you. Don't waste it the way I did. Don't throw it away for things that don't matter. Don't end up like me. Alone in a big house, with all the money and none of the meaning, with all the success and none of the joy. Don't be 72 years old, writing to strangers on the internet because you have no one else to talk to. Live differently, choose differently, love while you can. Because I promise you, when you're old and looking back on your life, you won't remember the late nights at the office. You won't remember the promotions or the raises or the professional achievements. You'll remember the people, the moments, the love, and if you're lucky, if you choose right, you won't be remembering alone. You'll be surrounded by the people you chose, the family you built, the life you lived. That's what I want for you. That's what I'm begging you to choose. Before it's too late. Before you end up like me.